Hey guys, thank you so much for joining me on Their Fight Story. We have Annette Nichols with us. Annette, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well, thank you. So hard to focus with them in the background.
Am I supposed
This
to
is
am I
this
like
is
on the
Brant
camera?
Moore.
Am I on the hello? Am I on the camera when I'm leaning back like this?
No, but your hands are, so it's even weirder. So just go ahead and stay in there. There you go. Just stay.
Move your head out of the way.
We're going to be having a surprise double interview with Annette
Oh,
and
there we go.
Annette, how did you get into martial arts?
So I started in jiu-jitsu, and I started training just first it was just kind of casual, and then I started working towards like competitions and things like that. And then I competed for a little while and just started thinking about just making it a little bit more competitive for myself. I kind of figured out the system, for a rule play, jiu-jitsu competition. And so I decided to look into maybe doing some MMA. And so that's kind of how I got into MMA, I guess, from martial arts. But I also was a military police, and we had done some unarmed self-defense and different things like that, combatives and things like that while I was in the military. And so that was like the beginning of it. But then really starting to train, I started in jiu-jitsu.
Oh, well, thank you for your service.
Thank you.
How did
Turn this trot up, boy.
Now I was looking at your record,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm confused, honestly, like so confused. Did you fight before 2019?
No.
So yeah, because I'm like, oh well, maybe there's something wrong here, because it's like it says here that she started in 2019,
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah, this month was my 3-year anniversary.
Just raw, unfiltered beast mode.
That's why I keep him around. He's my hype man.
So what made you?
She's only been fighting for a couple of years. It's all it is. It's just talent, hard work, and just raw, badass Suri. I had to put my shirt on. Sorry.
Yeah.
Complete beast mode. Shout out to Unaffiliated Fight Club.
Yeah. So I know it's just been a few years, but I did start in jiu-jitsu. I did jiu-jitsu for, I want to say, probably about maybe 2.5 years before I started MMA. And then for the first 6 months that I was doing MMA, I was actually just doing private lessons with Brant. Hello. And then because I was still doing jiu-jitsu, so I would go to jiu-jitsu, and then I would come in afterwards, and I would do private lessons with him. And he would just beat up on me, let's be honest. Kevin Aguilar used to come by and just walk by and just be like, I'm not even kidding you, I would be dripping with blood. He's pretending that that's not the case. And Kevin, it was absolutely what happened.
That's not what happened.
He completely faded that from his memory.
That's not what happened.
That progressed.
If I was whooping you down so bad, it would be faded from your memory.
Yeah, no, it was not.
What are you talking about?
It's pretty traumatic, the whole thing. But it was.
So is that what inspired you to fight?
Well, no, I was. So he came in. He came into the jiu-jitsu gym to cross train with us. And I had told him that I was interested in fighting. And of course, I now as a fighter, I totally understand his skepticism because people say that all the time, right? So he's like,
Everybody swears they can fight or they want to fight.
Yeah.
But until it comes time to do stuff, like fight stuff, like get beat up.
Then they don't really want to.
And then it's just like, this is not at all. Even especially jiu-jitsu people like, this is not at all like jiu-jitsu. Or they'll be like, I could just take the fight to the ground and blah 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 blah. And it's like, that's not how. In 2020 and on, in modern day MMA, jiu-jitsu is like a standard. You know what I mean? Like it's the most understood martial art, easiest to counter at this point. It's like the easiest martial art you can have the counter. So if you're like, even if you're a black belt in jiu-jitsu, like let's say myself, fools know how to counter my stuff.
Yeah.
That's how it is. That's why I started learning how to do judo so I can slam fools.
But he basically was very skeptical. And then I was, so then I started coming in and doing privates with him. And then, so we started working together. And in all fairness to him, like I was a little bit spazzy, still a little bit spazzy. I was definitely trying to throw down in there with like no skill. So I don't blame him for like putting me in my place day in and day out. But he said that there came a point where he was just like, he was trying to do the whole thing where you like, maybe if I hit them hard enough back, they'll calm down. He's like, one day he realized that this was not going to work with me and that I was going to get really brain damage. So instead, she was like, we'll just have to find another way. So he did like talk to me and try to like figure out why I was so aggressive.
Make it sound like I'm just like the worst.
No, but that's what ended up happening. So then I started being able, and I switched gyms to train full time MMA, and then that was kind of where that all just kind of started, and then kind of went from there. And so I tried out for the team. Actually, funny story, I got turned down, and then they told, so because they were like, we don't know who you are, because I'd only been training with him at night, So this was before I started training full time for the team. And they're like, if you want to fight for us, we went to tryouts, and I got mercilessly beat up, but I kept popping back like one of those little pop-up. And they're like, she sucks, but she's got lots of heart. So they're like, she really wants to be here. Is really what Kevin said. Kevin's such a sweetheart. Kevin Igdalia, he was so sweet. And he was just like, it's like, you can tell you really want to be here, as I'm pretty beat up. So then, and I was physically fit, I've been training, like, I was marathon training at the time and stuff like that. So I've always been an athlete. And so I was able to do the physical stuff, no problem. It was just the fighting stuff. But then, so then I just started training there with them. And so it took me about another 6 months. They were like, we want to see you in here pretty consistently, before we give you a fight. And so 6 months later is when I had my first fight. And that was about 3.5 years ago. So that's kind of the background from there.
Some of that is traumatized.
He just doesn't look like the bad guy. But if you ask anybody at the old gym, they will tell you he had liver shot me multiple times in a row.
Very true.
Very true.
Very true.
Drop down, and I make a sound from liver shot, by the way. It's awful. And I crawl. I don't know why I do this. I'm like crawling away from danger, I think. Yeah. But then I get back up because I'm like, oh no.
Were you doing the military crawl?
Yeah, no, seriously. Exactly. But I think I'm like trying to crawl away. But then I'll get back up because I'm like, oh no, I can't be done this way. Then I'll just get back down, and we do this a few times. But again, it's like, that's one of those things of, I think that's, you can see that in my fighting style. And it's like me personally, I've never been super talented, never been super skilled. But life's made me tough. So, and I'm determined, I've always been really determined. It's always like one of those things. It's just like, you're going to have to stop me. You're going to have to stop me either physically or some way else, or I'm just going to keep coming, So I try to take that attitude in everything in life. It's just like,
you second that?
Yeah.
Yeah,
so that's a long drawn out answer to your question.
Oh no, you're good.
By far, she's like the only person I've ever had to like coach from start to now. Super good. Raw, hard work, badassery. All her. A little bit of me. 99% her and like 1% me. That 1% me in those liver shots.
But if you're ever wondering why I'm so tough in my fights, it's because
I wasn't whooping on her. She loves to make it sound like I was just kicking that ass. Right?
Disclosure for the people that don't know, these are two professional fighters. And when they fight and beat each other up, they are in
any cage or on a mat.
Yeah, I didn't put
in the right setting.
The Xbox logo on her forehead. You know what I'm saying? I didn't do that.
Yeah, but he's definitely taken a few years off my liver.
anybody has some years taken off their liver, it's me. Last week. Jesus Christ.
So, how has training been for you guys during the pandemic? I mean, wait, like, see, this is what messes me up is we're in a pandemic, and that's when you decide to become an MMA fighter.
Yeah. I mean, it was like shortly before the pandemic, but you know, it's like, thankfully, I've had really like good like training partners. Victoria was one of my big training partners. Victoria Mason, you know. She was one of my big training partners in Shreveport a lot. So her and I would get together. It was really funny because she would come out to Longview, especially during the pandemic. But I was her aunt that was sickly that she was coming to see because back then they were like shutting the border down between Louisiana and Texas. And so you could only go if you had like a relative that needed like to get groceries or something. So she would be like, all right, I'm on my way, Aunt Annette, to bring you your groceries. You know, and so I was the sickly aunt that lived in Longview that she was bringing groceries to, so that if she got stopped, you know, they wouldn't, you know, question it. So, so we went back and forth a lot doing that kind of thing, like doing a lot of private sessions. You know, we would meet up, Andrea too, KGB. We would meet up kind of, you know, try to do it just between the three of us or something because it's so. Back then they were fining people, right, and people were like ratting each other out. It was really kind of funny because it was very clandestine. Like we would like leave all the lights on in the front of the gym, like off, and we would be in the back, like we'd drive around the back and park. And so I think it just made us feel cool, but we did get ratted on. So apparently there really were people that were complaining.
Church people.
That was so funny though. So we did, you know, we still got to train quite a bit, and I was fortunate enough to like have, you know, we had a fight planned before the pandemic hit. And so I trained for like 8 months for that fight. And like, we also trained in the back. One of our coaches, he lived out in the country. So there was like this platform like that he had that was kind of really more like it was kind of like a covered garage, let's be honest. But he had like decked it out, you know, with mats and stuff like that. It was so scary though, because if you got pushed back, you would like fall off the side.
A takedown that was off the mat would,
like
you would land on like concrete or like some piece of metal that was just sitting there.
So it was really funny because, you know, Derek Kranz one time showed up the first time that he showed up there, and he was like, oh, y'all aren't going to be able to run from me here. It was so scary. And then he proceeded to deliver shawls.
Oh, jeez.
He missed that day.
I felt something in me told me don't go that day.
But you didn't tell her.
I didn't.
Oh my God, we were literally taking like rounds off. Like each person was getting around in with Derek. It was pretty terrible.
She came back to the house. She's like, it was terrible. Derek came in. He showed up for like the first time ever, and we've been going there for like weeks at this point.
Because we trained out there quite a bit.
I've been consistently like every day either going there or Shreveport, and that's just that one day I was just like, I don't think I'm gonna.
Saved himself.
I was like, I don't think I'm gonna go today. I can smell it.
So small. It was such a small space, so we really couldn't, because that was kind of what we did with Derek, because we'd run from him. And so it's like all of a sudden he's like, oh, you little people can't run from me in here. He was right. It was either that, or like it was either face him or like run off into the trees or fall off the side. So that was pandemic training for us. It's a lot of driving out to Shreveport, like clandestine meetings and stuff. But we trained throughout the whole time. So we got very fortunate. We also went out to see Crew Bob's a few times.
Explain what that word clandestine means for like viewers that don't know what that word means.
As in you. You're not a viewer. We don't care.
Explain that word, because like viewers want to know.
This is for secretive spy stuff.
All right.
So that was COVID training for us. So we didn't miss too much. It was like him and I were partnered up a lot, which, you know, was to my benefit / detriment.
I'm a nice guy. I don't know why. She keeps acting like look at this, look at her face. Her face is fine.
Yeah.
But is it?
Yeah, it's fine. Except for his Xbox logo on her forehead.
He loves that thing. He's just gonna go with it forever long. Yeah. So
my scars are internal.
Oh my gosh, I have to tell you. So the funniest thing is unrelated to this. At the end of our last, because we both lost our last fight, right?
Yeah, we did.
And so funny, right? I'm laying on this doctor's amazing, right? He's stitching up. He's gonna stitch up my face. He gets out a boom box and he like lays everything out.
Like Rick James.
He has like a pop up.
For real. He was playing Rick James, loud as fuck.
Pop up like surgery center, okay? So funny. So I lay down. He's a plastic surgeon, so he gives me a fake boob to squeeze.
Yeah. Yeah, he gives her a fake boob. It was hilarious. I was like, "Is that a fake boob?" And he's just like, "Yes, it is."
And so I'm squeezing this fake boob. He's stitching up my face, like singing to Rick James. And then then Brant is like just just looking at everything. And then he goes, what was he saying? Oh, he was saying like we were talking about what it is, like who got hurt, and I said I got hurt because I got cut, right? And he was like, the doctor looks around, he was like, he's like, she got hurt, whereas you just got your ego hurt.
Yeah.
That's gonna take a long
He's like, yeah, he's like, this will heal up, maybe a little bit of scar, but that ego.
That takes a while.
That'll take a while. And I was just like, he's one of the coolest doctors ever.
I was like trying so hard not to laugh while I'm squeezing this boob. It was so funny. It was just like after, because we both just laughed. So
I was just over here. I was laughing because I thought it was good. The doctor
so good. He was like, this will heal fast. And he was just like, now that ego, that takes a while.
That takes a while. I was just like, damn, dog. Like I didn't even do anything to him.
That just reminded me of the
He just roasted me for free. Like he was just like, he was vibing. He's just like, yeah, stitching this up. Yeah, and hits me with a fire. He cooks me.
Fire roast.
He cooks me. He cooks me. I'm just sitting here watching. I'm just like, that looked good. I'm like, that's pretty awesome. He's just like, yeah, but your shit. I can't stitch you. I can't stitch you up.
That just reminded me of the internal scars. So that's one of those internal scars.
Yeah.
So how was that night for you guys? How was your mentality? Like concentrating and focusing, like, she's going to go before me. What am I going to do? Blah, 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 blah. Or, you just, how was that? Like,
I think for me, honestly, it was probably easier for me than it was for Brant, because for me, I'm going first, so that's always easier, I think, because I'm not thinking about him in that sense. Like his fight it's not happening yet. And also, I mean, we have competed on the same night before, just not on the same card, So we both cut weight together before, which is tough, of course, as I think that's probably the toughest part. And then it's like mentally, when you're getting close to a fight, we both get a little bit, we're different in some ways, we're similar in other ways. We both get a little bit quiet. And very but at the gym and everything but you're trying to build up, you start to feel that build up of this aggressiveness coming on that prepares you to be competitive. So when we're both like that, thankfully we do have the ability to know that that's how we prepare for fights, because we've been doing this for a while together. But I think it's harder on our kids, honestly, because they have to deal with us both being like that. But this time around, I think he did it. I think we both did a really good job of that, handling that aggression and handling, recognizing to still be there for each other, while at the same time, recognizing that we needed to do something separately. So we cut weight in some ways together till we got there, and then we cut weight separately. And then the fight night, I think we were both, we're not, both of us are kind of similar in the way that we're not super ragey, getting ready for a fight, I mean, I know some people, they have to get pumped up or whatever. Neither of us are really like that. And so I think that kind of helps. I think if he was super, I'm going to sit here and do you want 5,000 minutes or something, I'd be like, okay, you're stressing me out. We're both relatively, wouldn't you say we're pretty similar in that way? We're not super emotional kind of fighters. So I think that kind of helps. As far as me getting cut might have affected him more. He'll have to tell you how that affected him as far as, getting ready. So that's why I think it probably affected him more than it affected me. If that makes sense.
Yeah. For me, I'm really good on game day, I would say that it was probably bothering me. It probably bothered me a little bit earlier pre the fight, when it just happened. All right. So Yeah. So what it is just that when the fight first happened, I was a little bit amped up, just like gotta do this, gotta get. She just lost. I gotta win. We can't both lose. That kind of thing. You know what I'm saying? That you usually 9 times out of 10, me and Annette have won fights. Like both of us.
Mhm.
Won our fights. For me, yeah, 9 times out of 10, that's still my percentage. But I guess that's 9 out of 11 now. Yeah. Anyways, quick math. But looking back on it, Monday morning quarterback in the situation, I probably should have let it get to me because Estradalis actually beat me. Uh, he actually got me before I was able to get the ball actually rolling. So I probably in that moment should have let it affect me as opposed to not. But hindsight's 2020. Because in that situation, I should have stepped on the gas from the get go and then pulled back. But that's an opponent to opponent, moment to moment basis thing. It's something that definitely affects me in the right when it's happening. But the closer and closer I get to actually fighting, like once I'm walking into the cage, it's just me and that guy. It's not really me and this situation that happened XYZ before or the after. It's like the moment. It's either this moment or if you're either finna win or finna lose. It's only go one or two ways. Except in the event of a draw, then in which case, what the fuck? But it can happen. It can happen. It just happened to my homeboy not that long ago. You know what I'm saying? It just happened to Grant. Grant got to fucking draw some kind of way. Judges.
Yeah,
But
you never leave it.
no judges were involved in my fight. I got smoked. I got smoked in like a minute. I got stabbed in the liver by a big toe, and then I got punched.
Oh.
He giga kicked me. He used his old teammate's move on me. He kicked me like that. Yeah, it surprised me for sure because I blocked the kick. It's like I blocked the kick, and then his toe just shake like right into my stuff, and I was just like, and I'm just like, I got this. It didn't floor me. I'm okay. And then he's just like, yeah, I'm gonna run after this guy. And I was just like, I wanted him to run after me so bad, so I could have binked him. But he learned from his last fight with Nick Brown not to do that because that was his downfall against Nick Brown. And so he didn't, He learned from, and then he freaking, I missed my uppercut, and he hit me again, and that was it. That second time I was like in the fetal position, like I was like this, like a fetal. I was like, I was stuck here. I was like, come on. I was like, I'm like stuck like this.
He wasn't crawling though. He just has enough dignity not to crawl away.
I couldn't crawl. I was stuck like this. I was like you can probably see it. If it's like on camera or LFA, like I'm sure there's like a video of it somewhere. But like it's like I'm like this. And it's like I'm not trying to cover up to protect myself. I literally am just stuck like this. I'm like, and then the ref gets there, and I'm like looking to my left, and I see black like suede shoes or whatever, or black shoes, those black dress shoes. So I'm like, well, the fight's over. The ref got in it,
Yeah.
Stop. And I'm still stuck here, and I'm just like, come on, dude, get the fuck out of here. I'm like, open up. I'm like telling my body at this point, I'm like, open up, come on, man. The fight's not even happening anymore. And I'm like, and then I'm like, gotta take the seated position like this, trying to like force my way up. And I'm like, then my coach is like right here next to me. He's just like, you good? And I'm just like, I'm fine. I'm like, I just can't breathe right now. And it's just like, well, all right. And then I get up and I'm just like, I'm good.
In case you hadn't seen the fight.
That's the
play-by-play.
That's Brant's internals.
Is that your ego?
That's that. You can even make a segment. Like I can make a segment, Brant's internals. That's the shit I was going through.
The scars.
Yeah.
How do you guys manage? Like for me, like how my segment is about the importance of mental health and martial arts. Because well, for me, I use martial arts as a gateway to help me get through mental health and every, situations that occur in life. Um, Being as that you were in the military, does that help? Or do you have PTS triggers from it or anything like that?
I definitely have PTSD triggers. Not really so much from the military, although I did have an incident in the military too, like that occurred. But mostly every fight, after my fights, I always have a lot of nightmares, and it's like a consistent thing. Brant knows.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I'll like scream in my sleep. But so that's mostly just from my life. I've had like some
and elbow me and be violent.
Yeah.
That's not what's happening.
Yeah, very violent. Yeah, it's very violent. But yeah, so yeah, it definitely triggers me. Now I think that I'm more aware of that, and so part of martial arts has been like, it's empowering, right? So it's like recognizing that this is the time when, and there may come a time where I'm in a fight that I'm finished by another opponent, but I feel like it's a chance for me to actually be able to do something about it, if that makes sense. So it's like, in the past, I've had traumatic instances where I was just the victim, right? And so I didn't have the opportunity to fight back, or didn't feel like I could fight back. And now I'm going in willingly, in spite of my fear, into a situation where I've trained for this and I feel capable. And so there's a part of that that's really therapeutic for me, that I know that I can go in there and I can face my fears. So it's kind of like, I know that there's no way to make up for things that have happened to you in the past, of course, but it's a way to basically say, all those times where I couldn't fight back, I can fight back now. Not only can I fight back now, and I think that's part of the reason, that was one of the things Brant and I talked about, was I think that's part of the reason why I'm so aggressive, because so much of my life was like taking that punishment without having that sense that I could fight back, and so now there's a sense of like, whatever the opposition is, whatever someone's trying to take from me, they may get it from me, but they're going to have to fight for it this time. So I know that it's somewhat symbolic in that way. For me, fighting is an opportunity for me to say, like, this is something I want, and you're going to have to fight me for it. I'm not going to just give in and let someone take something from me that I want, And so in that way, it's definitely still a trigger. So I always have nightmares after my fights. I still have to always process, even if I win. My fights are also very violent fights. So there's a lot of, obviously, my brain has a hard time separating the two. And so like past instances of violence in my life that were not consensual, like you could say, my brain has to sort those out. But it's like, it also is an opportunity for me to sit and journal and think. And I always make a point to really just give myself that time. Like the week after my fight, I take some time off. I go to a coffee shop, I journal, and I really just process everything and let my brain kind of process. And that's another way that I'm able to kind of go through things that I've, and the mental health aspect of it, and just be like, okay, like connect with my feelings, connect with all of those things, and be like, okay, well, how do I feel about these things? And what way do I feel stronger? And what way did that bring back memories that I haven't dealt with, or things that I haven't dealt with? How did I feel? Did I feel afraid? When I felt afraid, like, where did I go with that? And then I could be proud of myself because I know that I did something that is hard, and processed through that and came through it, if that makes sense. Versus in the past, I was like, I was stuck, I was stuck in that. I was stuck in that victim kind of mentality. And now I can go through hard things, recognize that they're hard for me. They're still hard for me, that I can come through it and heal, which is ultimately, I think, what we want, right? It's like not just, oh, I went through this, but heal and be better from there and grow from there. So I think that's what martial arts does for me as far as my mental health goes, and as far as like empowering me as a person. Yeah. I don't know about Brant. He's got a lot of internal scars as we've talked about it.
Yeah. A lot of the issues I have was like just being a kid, just getting bullied a lot as a kid, whether it be bullied at house, being bullied at the house, being bullied at school, whatever. It's like going off what Annette was saying, like a lot for me, since a lot of my stuff is from a young age, it's kind of like you kind of got to accept it and get stronger from it. For me, it's like like a lot of little things, like they're like recurring, like stuff with my dad, my mom, maybe somebody at school, whatever. It's just like sometimes you gotta like when you learning to stand up for yourself or whatever, you on the one end you'll be on the one end learning how to fight and fighting somebody that's like really trying to mess with you. If they know you'll fight them, they probably won't mess with you again just because they know that you'll fight them. Most people don't like that, you know what I'm saying? Especially if you'll fight them again or whatever, just like that phrase, nobody likes to stand in front of something that's relentless, that kind of thing. But on the growth side, with the way I've grown from it, it's kind of like if something bad happens, it's life. Life, bad stuff happens. You may beat. I'm beaten. I may be beaten today, but as long as I keep getting stronger, there's most likely a point to where whatever that entity is will never be able to beat me again. For me, that was like people. It was very much like specific people. It's just like, get bullied by this person, you know what I'm saying? Get strong enough. Hey, if it happens today, like, emotionally, maybe they said something, maybe they did something, I wasn't strong enough. It happened. I gotta train, gotta improve, gotta get stronger, And the situation comes again, whatever, you stop it, you change the outcome, whatever. You became at that point strong enough to where they might want to test you again, but they can't beat you again. You know what I'm saying? And just because you beat them, or the situation doesn't mean you got to stop training. You can stop training. You got to keep getting stronger. And that's kind of how I mentally have dealt with like stuff. Like say me with this loss. My life's different now. As far as like, it does bother me that I've lost, but it probably doesn't bother me as bad as previous losses have, you know what I'm saying? Like whenever I lost to Lucas Clay, I was absolutely like sick for a very long time just because, that was my first professional loss and I lost to some crazy ass choke before it was even meta, you know what I'm saying? It's like the analogy I used for Annette earlier. It's like, imagine being a soldier in different eras, and you're using bows and arrows, and you get fucking shot by a gun. You're probably gonna you're the first guy that got killed by a bullet. While everybody else is, and this guy, pow, you're gonna be like, what the hell happened? That wasn't even fair. I was doing so good. Like you can watch the fight. You can even ask Lucas Clay himself. Like it was just like that dude was gonna beat on his way to beating me, and if that move didn't work, I probably was gonna beat him, but I didn't. He beat me. Same with Arthur. In my last fight, most likely the way the fight was gonna go, and the way our styles work, I was probably going to start getting the better of him post 2 to 3 minutes and on of the fight, but he got me out in the first minute, so I fucking lost, and that's how it happened. I gotta get better. I gotta get better. That's it.
That's it.
I can't blame it on anybody. It's nobody's fault but my own. Just went out there and got shanked, and then got shanked and lost. I gotta go back and train. I gotta go back, train, get better, get mentally better, keep loving this lady.
Oh.
Yeah. She, like
liver shots and all.
Yeah, liver shots and all. Well,
he doesn't do that anymore.
Okay.
I'm the one that, like, you see that.
Poetic justice.
That could have been karma right there. That could have been karma for all the homies I liver shotted. You know what I'm saying? All the people I've liver shot up until then. Black and half. Like, I get to love this pretty lady and the Xbox logo she has on her forehead. I love that. It's like I get to see her pretty face plus cool scars. It's awesome. Hey, do you know you can see her skull from the cut? Like whenever you splayed it over, you could see like skull. It's pretty crazy. I've seen some.
This is why I'm not a fighter.
Hey, I've seen some crazy stuff in fighting. Like I never thought I'd be in the same room as it happened, let alone see it. Like one of my homeboys, Chris. What is Chris's last name? Williams. Yeah, Chris Williams. He's his first amateur fight. He checks a leg kick, and this dude's leg
Oh, yeah.
folds in
That
half.
was my debut too. It was
Yeah,
my amateur
yeah.
debut night. Yeah.
That
I was
was
out running to get ready for my fight. And they're like, "Did you see that?" And I was like, "No." And they're like, "Never mind."
It smacked. It was like crazy.
I probably wouldn't have thrown a single leg kick. If I knew that.
Chris, the way Chris reacted to it was just, it was like, it was good sportsmanship on Chris's, like, you know, Chris wasn't just like, yeah, dude, I got the broken leg. Chris was just like, he was just like, bam, and it's like he was gonna punch this guy. It's like he was dead, and then he like looks over at his leg, and he's just like, oh God. I hope that the video is still out there. It's just, and then he's just like, oh.
You can hear it.
I did not.
It's like a baseball bat crack. It's bad.
Or broomstick, whatever. Like it sounds like wood.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm good with all that. I can't do that. Sorry.
It's really awesome. But,
we draw a line somewhere.
Her cut, like, it was pretty awesome. It's pretty epic.
I mean, you're so excited about it. Were you excited about your cut?
No.
I'm excited about my cut.
Yeah, because I mean,
I was disappointed for sure that the fight got stopped, you know, but you know, it's always like before my fights, I always say it's like whatever's going to happen is meant to be. And I like always, I kind of give, you know, I believe in God. So I believe that, you know, he's the one that decides the outcome. And as long as I'm, you know, I do everything in my power to get ready, then it's like I submit myself to that, like whatever the outcome is that he chooses for me, like I trust it, if that makes sense. It's like, if that's what he chose for me, there was a reason for that. And I have peace about that, if that makes sense. That doesn't mean I'm not disappointed, of course, you know, because that's what people think. They're like, you're just like rainbows and unicorns. Like, no, it still hurts to lose regardless. And of course, I've trained hard. I wanted to be in there, you know, fighting the whole time, you know, but it is, you know, that's what was intended to happen. And so that's what was, you know, that's that I'm willing to accept that for sure. So, and I'm not really a big person. I don't really worry much about scars. I have so many scars. It's like really no big deal at this point. 1, 5,000. It's like whatever at this point.
I'm pretty.
Yeah, he's pretty. And I talk about that because I will be so beat up even after fights I win, right? And he always after fights like the same.
Even this last
win, loss.
Even this last fight, yeah, all of Arthur's shots to my face missed. One of them was a really good one. He gave me a spear. He tried to shoot a spearing elbow, and it's like I missed it. But when I missed it, I was just like, whoa, that was because he shot it fast. It was cool.
I did not miss my elbow.
I was like, whoa. Yeah.
I ate my elbow.
Yeah, I missed it. You can't move your body like that though. You know, I got that good head movement, but my body's apparently ain't got it. Not at 155 at least. It ain't got that durability.
How do you guys find I guess the words to speak with the children when they see you guys coming back from the fights and like your energy level has changed or you have scars and injuries?
I got this. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yo. All right, so this is what we do. This is what I do. I just tell them like it is.
Well, he always looks like this, so you got nothing to say to them. He's like, "Hi, I'm back. I look exactly like this. I didn't even fight." And I'm coming back, and I'm just like, I'm always telling because usually the kids go with their grandparents, like with their grandpa who watches them. And so I always text them ahead of time. I'm like, just so you know, when we get to see the kids, like let them know, like, you know, usually I won my fight, but I'll just be like, I won my fight, but you know, my head is lopsided or whatever, you know. But I don't think my kids care like that.
She had the JJ.
Oh yeah. After one of my fights, I had a really
Really?
My head
it was hilarious.
from all the overhand rights. And then it like slid down into my eye, and then my whole eye turned red. And so I looked like it was just crazy looking. And then it like pulled into my eye and turned black. It was the weirdest thing. But I don't think, my kids, I'll tell you this story. This just kind of shows you like how my kids are about it because they're both boys, you know. So part of it's like, you know, they roughhousle out. But I remember one day I was just not having a good day at the gym, and this was at our old gym, and I was just super bloody. And our kids always come like to train, you know, when we would train, they would be playing or whatever. And so I was like walking to the bathroom, like trying to like, you know, cause I get bloody nose all the time, huge nose. So I feel like always hit in the nose. And my son was just like, Mom, move your head. And I was like, thank you. That's very helpful.
That was probably the youngest one.
That was all over.
The youngest one says stuff like that.
Move your head.
It's hilarious.
And I was just like, yeah, thank you for asking. I am doing great. Clearly not. But they've been around the sport enough to like know, like, you know, that's part of the game. So they've seen me pretty bloodied up, like in practices and stuff, and seen me just, you know, so they know, they kind of get that part of it, you know. So they don't think much of it. And then they'd laugh. Like this time was really funny because it swelled up, right? Because, you know, your face is the heel. And so part of it's like the swelling. Well, I looked like the person I actually made like a little picture of myself next to the avatar person, you know, the blue people. It's like a skin resemblance. So it's like showing my kids. They're like, yes, that is you. Little tiny little forehead. You know, I really did. I was laughing so hard. So like, you know, I think a lot of it too is that they know, like, I'm not the kind of person that's going to, you know, be like coming in here with this horrible attitude about anything. And so I think that's part of it. They know you know, I'll be okay, you know, because I always talk to my boys before fights too. Like, you know, hey, I could lose this fight. I could get knocked out. I could get hurt, you know, and I don't really know I could do that because they're always just like, I'm not worried about it. I'm just like, well, of course you're not worried about it. You don't have to go in there and fight anybody. They're like, I'm not worried about it, Mom. So, like, do you remember last time? And they're just like, it's fine. It'll be fine. So, you know, I think that they, you know, they're very sweet. I mean, my youngest is probably the sweetest. I know, like, about fights. And even I'll tell them I'm very honest about, like, my fears or my self-doubt or things like that. But I know my youngest, he told me I think it was before my pro debut, and I was about to fight Rain, and we knew she hits really hard, you know, and, you know, since my pro debut, I've only had 5 fights at this point. I've been barely training, so I'm like a little nervous, you know, and he was just like, Mom, so sweet. He just grabbed my face, and he was just like, Mom, he was just like, I believe in you. Now take that belief and put it in your heart. Oh, the sweetest thing. Oh. And of course, like, you know, as a mom, I'm like, oh my God, you know, like, I want to give you a hug. He's like, okay, I'm done. Yeah, we're done. And if you met my youngest, you would totally understand. He totally gets, he's like, okay, that was all I can handle. Like, that's all you get. Like, don't even start coming for me. Like, I'm finished. That was all the sweetness I had for this whole year. So go away. But it's those kind of things, you know, they're very supportive of that, and they really are good about handling like any of the challenges. And I think a lot of it is openness, like just being really honest about your fears, your doubts. And then like, because then when you do make a choice to do something anyway, kids really get to see like, oh, we can do hard things. You know what I'm saying? And, you know, I think when we, as parents, sometimes we feel like we should like act super brave and strong. And that's not it. I always tell the kids, like, we're going to have a good attitude, but we're going to be honest, you know? So we're going to be honest about things being hard for us, or not feeling like training, or not feeling like going to the gym, or being disappointed about a loss, or physically hurting, or any of those kind of things. But we can like still have a positive attitude about like being grateful. And that's gratitude's everything as far as like, you know, being positive and being happy in life, I think, is gratitude. So we can be still sad while being grateful, if that makes sense, you know?
Oh my God, yes. That's, I guess people who've gone through things in life can actually understand it and appreciate it. Whereas other people who've never been, I mean, good for them that they've never experienced anything in life. Right. And I tell them all the time, they're like, well, I don't understand. And I'm like, well, you know what? I'm really glad you don't understand, because the fact, if you understood me, that means you went through something traumatic. And like,
and I don't think everybody has to be gritty. I just had this conversation actually with my sister this morning. She's like, I feel like my kids are soft. It was really funny. And she was like, I feel like my kids are so soft. They live in a suburban neighborhood, and like, you know, they've gone to private school their whole life. And she's like, I'm a little worried they're not going to make it in life. And I was like, you don't have to, not everybody's meant to be tough, you know, not everybody's been called for that kind of a life, you know. It's like, I think it's okay. And I think we need people out there that are soft, so that we can know that we don't all have to be that way. It's really about like what God calls you for as far as the purpose for your life, that maybe, you know, he has something different planned for them. But we need beautiful people that are innocent and, you know, have been through like this super hard life, because it gives the rest of us have been through a lot, like, oh, that's how it's supposed to be. Like, you know, and so I think that's okay. You know, I think it's okay not have a super gritty child. Like he would be like totally different than that, I'm sure. But
He busts out with the pillow. Are we boring you over there?
No, it's not, I'm like,
Wheezing. This is
yeah.
wheezing the pillow.
Is that a coping mechanism?
There we go.
No, that's not even right. Is it? It's supposed to be upside down?
Yeah, I don't know.
But yes, so, you know, I think that you don't have to, like, the kids will naturally, I think life is going to give you what you need. And like whatever God's plan is for your life, it will have that in it. So big hug. You know, so not everybody, that's the moral of my story, is not everybody has to be super gritty and tough, you know, like not everybody's designed to be warriors. Some people are supposed to be like painters and, you know, artists and you know, hippies.
Agreed.
But you know what? We can all be warriors in different aspects of
Yeah,
life.
for
It's
sure.
not just,
Agreed.
you know, one specific thing, because it's like a person can be physically strong, but they're not mentally strong.
Right. Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So it's like we need to
Make
just
space
remind
for
people.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just remind people.
We don't need to look down on people because they are not mentally tough. You know, it's like there's a space for people like that, you know, and I appreciate people like that are, you know, that are more sensitive and that are, you know, so I don't really feel like everybody needs to be mentally tough, if that makes sense. Now, resilience is important because life will be challenging, you know, but I think that that's beautiful. Like if you have that kind of mentality and you are sensitive like that, I mean, I love that. You know, I think that I wish we lived in a world where that was easier. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. You know?
I wish we lived in a world where everybody could have at least one MMA fight.
Brant's over here like everyone needs to fight.
No, if you're physically, I agree with Annette for sure. I think there should be, and there is and should be a place for everybody, whether you're soft as heck or if you're tough as nails. You know what I'm saying? But I do think, like, I do think everybody should like have a fight, go through some shit. I think really what it is, I think everybody should be able to defend themselves. Yeah, that's it.
Yes.
That's. I don't think everybody should be hard. I just think everybody should be able to defend themselves because there's a balance, right? Just like if there's a place for everybody, there's a balance, right? Mm-hmm. So where there's good people, there's definitely going to be bad people, you know. So you want to like have a good. Oh my God! Have a good balance, but we would all want more, you know, good. We all want more good than bad.
I know this is totally not what you expected for this interview.
Oh, this is awesome. No, this is perfect.
This is also like, that is one thing I will say about both of us that is like, I think really, you know, great is that we do both really try to be authentic. And we love weird, quirky people because we are super weird and quirky too, obviously.
I'm doing cool stuff over here. Come on now. Like, she just hates, she can't look at it.
Oh my gosh. She's like, can't figure out if it's upside down. I'm going to have to Google it afterwards.
It's balance. If it was this way or this way.
I'm looking at the peace symbol and I can't remember if it's supposed to be up or down.
Yeah.
I think that's right.
That's what she's been thinking of.
I've literally been thinking about that whole time.
Yeah. I noticed.
Is this it?
Yes, I think so.
This is not it.
I think that's like a Volkswagen label or something.
Peace.
There we go.
Peace.
I think so.
Somebody, hey, if you got anybody in the comments of this article or this video or whatever, they're going to let
clarify.
They're going to let us know. We don't even have to ask for them to clarify. They're going to let us know. Somebody's going to be like, this idiot has got the pillow upside down. No wonder he lost his fight. No wonder he lost his fight. He can't even put the pillow right side up. What are you talking about, boy? Oh, man. He doesn't even know what the peace sign is. Putting on the Volkswagen.
Annette, what advice would you give to amateur fighters?
I think the biggest thing is just getting a lot of competition experience. You know, I don't think necessarily that you have to, you know, I was in a different circumstance because I was, you know, I'm 39, you know, So I was, we would have liked for me to have a longer amateur career, but I'm just running out of time, And and so he's so terrible, I swear. But yeah. Yeah. But yeah, so it wasn't that we didn't, it's not that we necessarily felt like, we did feel like I was ready to a certain degree, but it was, we would have given me more time if we could have, but we just didn't have time. We knew that we wanted to have some time as a professional. So we at the time decided, okay, we need to go pro. And it's really interesting because most of my fights, I've always just like known that was who I needed to, like, as far as like, these were certain people that I needed to fight. It's like a timing thing. And I don't know if that's like my age or something like that, but I've always known, like, I knew, before they suggested Rain Guerrero as my debut, like, I knew I was going to fight her as my pro debut. I know that sounds weird, but it's like, I knew I needed to fight her. It's like, I knew of her already at that point, and I just felt like she was the right one for me to really see if I was ready, because she was undefeated as an amateur, undefeated as a pro at that time. She'd never been defeated anywhere. And she had fought like at a higher level, she fought for Bellator. And I knew she was going to be a hard, tough fight for me. And I was like, let's see what I'm made of, and kind of see if this is something I want to do, because I knew that I was running out of time. So as far as like amateurs, I would say, I have a lot of competition experience overall. I've been an athlete the majority of my life. And so I've, done Far East tournaments, across, in Asia, traveled sports teams, volleyball, basketball. I've done, jiu-jitsu tournaments, I've done marathons, triathlons, so I've got a lot of competition experience. So I've kind of pushed myself to that point of like not being sure if I could do it. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's really what I would suggest for people, is really push your limits before you go pro, so you can see what you're made of. Just to see if you can because there's one thing, right? You got to figure out your weight. You got to figure out like what weight should I be fighting at. You got to figure out what, mentally you can handle, like, again, you don't have to be a fighter that goes in there and brawls it out with everybody, but you need to know who you are, so you can determine, how to train and how to pick your fights and those kind of things, so really just giving yourself a lot of competition to get to know yourself. I'd much rather fight a younger and less, less life experienced person, because I feel like I have that grittiness that I know lacks when you're younger. A lot of times, just because life does kind of make you more determined as you're older, you have less time, so you feel that sense of urgency, and I feel like that's something that if you're young still, get lots of that kind of experience, just to give yourself a chance to get to know yourself, see where you're at as a person, and really push yourself to try, how do I feel when I'm under a lot of pressure, because that's where you're, the skill doesn't really matter at that point as much, if that makes sense. If you can't, we always joke around about the moment was too much for him. The moment's too big. The moment's too big. And that happens, right? And that the moment is too big really basically means that you just were not mentally ready for the kind of pressure that competition can put on you. And you need to know that before you get in a situation where, now all the pressure is on you, and then all of a sudden you have this really terrible experience, because you don't want it to be one of those experiences that you walk away from and be like, man, it wasn't even that I was not as good as this, person. It was really that I just mentally couldn't handle it, and then I think people leave the sport because they're, they get discouraged, and discouragement's part of it. It's like working through that discouragement and stuff. So that would be my recommendation. Get a lot of competition experience. If you have the time, especially if you're young, like take a lot of time. And again, it doesn't have to be as in MMA, because MMA is hard, right? It tends to be kind of destructive on your body, especially if you've cut a lot of weight and things like that. But jiu-jitsu tournaments, any kind of like competitive environment, just to give yourself that feeling of that pressure, just to, get used to, get that experience, if that makes sense. That's what my big recommendation, I guess, would be for people looking to go pro.
No, I think it's very important, because I know people, I've seen a lot of fighters that do maybe like 2-3 fights in their amateur career, and then they go pro, which is great. You know what I mean? But you have to have that other background where you've been constantly training, you've been constantly competing, you've been doing all this stuff, so you're prepared for it. Whereas there's some fighters that, yes, their amateur career, they only have 3 fights, but nobody wants to fight them. But it's either A, they're really, really good that nobody wants to fight them, or people just don't really know them. When
too big of a risk.
Yeah, like if they're trying to build their fight career, somebody who's at a high level doesn't really want to just pick anybody because they want to fight somebody also who's a high level.
Because you don't want to lose the bum, and now you're like, your whole credibility is in question, right?
Yeah. So for me, I've seen that it's so important for all these amateurs to just go and fight. Doesn't matter who it is, fight. This is where you understand what level you're at. Just like if you're doing smokers and stuff or whatever it is, this is the only time that you're really going to test everything before you go on to be a professional, because your amateur career is beneficial for the individual fighter.
Right,
to build themselves and get better.
Also, Brant had a big thing that he said, remember how he used to say, like, you should have these types of fights before your professional fight?
Yeah, like, me, like, me isn't, well, I'm gonna skip me, but I'm just talking about what I want. Like, for me, from a coaching standpoint, what I would want as somebody that's like I've had like 25-ish, 25, 24, 25, like MMA fights. And that's just my MMA fights. That's not counting my boxing matches, kickboxing matches, Muay Thai fights, a pro boxing match, jiu-jitsu tournaments. I got all kinds of experience. I've been in karate since I was 3, But all this stuff aside, like me being a martial artist all my life, I kind of don't know any different. I can't expect the next guy to be me or anything similar to me. But like when an amateur fighter, what they need is like they need to fight. They need to have their first fight. They need to get their feet wet. They need to have like a hard fight, right? And that can be accomplished just by fighting somebody that is similar in skill to you, right? Then you need to fight somebody that's like, say, you need to figure out what your thing is. You know what I'm saying? Like if you're good at striking, if you're good at grappling, if you're good at clenching up, wrestling, if you're good at doing a mixture of those, blending them together, whatever your thing is, you need to figure out what that thing is. You want to know what you're good at before. You want to know what you're good at. Then you want to fight somebody that's better than you at what you do, to where you can hopefully get a fight to where you have to build a game plan. Can you follow a game plan? Are you fucking smart enough to make those decisions? Are you smart enough mentally as a fighter to make those decisions without your coach having to say something in the corner? Do this, because like for me, I always hear my coaches and different things like that, but I'm a smart fighter. I have her mentally wanting to be more of a smart fighter than just do whatever I tell her. I would prefer her to make the call herself than me having to make the call for her. You know what I mean? Like, do you have a fighter that you can depend on that can do that? And the fighter has to know that themselves. But the biggest thing, you just need like experience in hard fights. I had 14 amateur fights. You just need to have a hard fight, fight somebody that's like at your skill level, fight somebody that's like, if once towards the end of the game, you need to fight somebody like you're close to going pro. You need to fight somebody that's close to going pro. Get that experience, because like there's no going back, and you don't want to just smash a bunch of cans. You don't want to beat a bunch of people that aren't good, and then
have your first hard fight be your pro fight.
Yeah, you don't
now there's like serious people.
Yeah.
He always says you don't have a real fight until your 5th fight, right? That's when you start getting into people that like are actually like experienced.
They give a fuck about the sport,
and like are also cutting weight and are also like training and consistently and those types of things. That tends to be
it's not a joke to them. Like for me, that's what I say. You don't fight really anybody till your 5th fight, because provided that you're winning them, but. If you smash 4 cans, that 5th guy really needs to be somebody that's not a fucking can. Like if you're beating an 0-0 guy, that guy, who knew that could be anybody. That almost doesn't count. That fight almost doesn't count. It's just a fight. You need to fight 1-0 guy. Then you need to fight 2-2 guy, 2-0 guy. You need to stay in that range. You don't need to go you don't need to go 2-0 and then fight a guy that's like 1-3. You know, you can. That's a thing. You know what I'm saying? That's a thing. You got to know the guy. But like once you're like 4 or 5-0, you don't need to be fighting somebody that's like 1-6. You don't need to be doing that. That's so like it's not that it's just this huge waste of your time or whatever. It's just you could. It kind of is. It sounds mean, but it kind of is. You know, you don't need to be fighting somebody like that. You need to be fighting somebody that's good because there will hit a point you don't want to run through people and then you get to like LFA or RFA or well RFA is the other thing now, but you don't want to get to go to Fury, LFA, whatever, Bellator. You don't want to go somewhere and then like you're fighting somebody that like really takes it serious and you've never fought anybody that's taking the game as serious as this, and then they fucking hit you one time with a 1-2. And you're like, whoa, nobody's ever done that to me before. Nobody's throwing a good boom, boom. Nobody, you know, it's something simple like that trips you out. You don't want that.
You need adversity.
Yeah,
you need adversity, like before you go pro. Like, so, you know, you maybe not have as many fights, but you have had like hard fights that where you were well matched and you experienced some adversity, then, you know, you're probably better off than the guy that like, you know, had a TKO after TKO for 6 fights and the person only lasted like 1 minute and looked like they trained in their garage or something. You know what I'm saying? Like you have to, you know, and that's I think important.
And surround yourself try to surround yourself by the right people, both inside and outside, like the gym. Like the more for me, like you know, I've really started taking fighting seriously, probably my senior year of high school, and then moving on till I was about 19, and then I took a little break to be a firefighter, you know, but try to pursue a regular person's career, but like I like my but like as
my brother's a firefighter.
We were talking about that yesterday. Yeah, we have good jobs as fighters. We just are like our taxes are insane. There's like 17 different jobs, like babysitting, whatever.
Got skills. But like
jack of all trades over here.
Exactly.
You you want to surround like I know the more and more I got deeper and deeper into fighting, the less and less I was either wanting to or my friends were wanting to hang out with me or me wanting to hang out with them, because it's just like I'm over here trying to like, you know, when you're an athlete, you kind of gotta what Annette was telling me about. You got to set up for today, yesterday, and you got to be working on today, tomorrow, today. You know, like I got to be thinking about like how am I gonna fuel my body and make sure I drink enough water and not fuck myself up in the shop or some shit like that, so I can train tomorrow good, you know, like to where tomorrow's not a waste. And like you got people, and you may have people in your life that aren't thinking like that, aren't doing like that. They don't have any type of aspiration like that, you know. They surround be in a spot, probably make the people at the gym more closer to your friends than people that aren't. Maybe not, you know, stay away from trifling things, you know. You know what I mean. And
you really need.
Yeah. Brant always has to have his stay away from the host speech at some point in every interview. I'm just like, man, that was a really dramatic experience in your life.
It's not my experience, right? So like it didn't derail me. I'm doing good. It didn't derail me, right?
I always laugh when I listen to his interviews. I'm like, here we go.
It didn't derail me, but there were plenty of homies that it derailed, you know.
That's right. We have lost a few of them.
And it's not even like, you know, I'm not even speaking like that's universal. It's not even just fighting. Fighting is really serious. You know, you're doing good in fighting, you know, but you're an amateur and not making no money, and then now your lady or not your lady is pregnant, you know, and now it's just like, what do? You don't have no skills. That's why you're fighting. If you had a real job and a degree, you wouldn't be fighting. Like,
how do you really feel? I mean, I feel like there's some hidden.
I'm doing good, you know.
We're back to the scarring, the internal.
I got a good lady, you know what I'm saying. My life is pretty is solid, you know what I'm saying. Fighting could be going better, you know. Like overall it's okay, but like, you know, yeah, a lot of homies have been derailed by one specific thing, and it's oh man, it's a horrible thing. It's I feel bad for them. That's all it is, you know what I'm saying. I'm not rich or anything like that, but I'm at least getting to do what I want, getting to fight and stuff like that.
So there's more. There's more than just fights. They really need to focus on before they can really
make sure you got your priorities in line. Going amateur to pro, like just because
the risk factor goes up high.
Like every fight could be the fight to change your life, or it could be that fight like if you lose too many. Just that's the thing. Like for women, it's a little bit different because I think the competition is a little bit different, and the promotion factor is a little bit different. For women, but for guys, you know what I'm saying? Like me, I'm judo brown belt, jiu-jitsu black belt, karate black belt, ninja, you know what I'm saying? Ninja. And there's plenty of me. There's millions of ninjas. There's millions of ninjas out there at 155 or at 170. You know what I'm saying? Like that. I'm 9-2. You could probably go to Tapology and pull up any guys that aren't or are in the UFC that are like 9-2. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
At 155 or 170. They're like for me and my being a male in my divisions, it's not you don't get that many shots. You know what I'm saying? Heavyweight or whatever, you can fight, you can knock 3 or 4 dudes out and possibly be in the UFC because the competition level isn't like that. Same at 205 with the women. At 135 or 125, 125 is a really tough division for the women. But like at 135 and 115, not saying that those weight classes aren't tough, but like at 125, it's just a murderous road like going down there, But holy smack! I just
got totally off topic.
I'm trying not to offend anybody right now, and I'm just like,
it's so funny. He does this all the time with Owls too.
I'm just trying not to.
You know what? It's hard to find even people in that weight class most of the time, like 115, 105.
Yeah,
so you're gonna be fighting the same person over and over.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's like since the competition is so small, it's like you got 15 people in the whole world in that division. You know what I'm saying? And the top 10 are in the big leagues. That's just how it is. But going back to the whole amateur thing, just try to get your life in line as best as you can. Obviously fighting. Probably don't have your life in line that great. It's fine. It's totally okay. Working at McDonald's or wherever the hell you're working at until you can make enough money or whatever you're doing. Or you got your OnlyFans, whatever your deal is. Whatever your deal is that supplies your income. Try to get more what? Try to
I was not expecting that.
Get your priorities and everything in line. Because the more your stuff is in line, the better your chance of like being a successful fighter is. Because I don't think Dustin Poirier is worried about his wife or his kids or his
or fans only
or fans only. You know what I'm saying? He's not worried about any of that. Nate Diaz, none of them, Israel Adesanya, none of them are worried about any of that. They just go train, do some interviews, be cool, and you know what I'm saying? Especially Adesanya. Adesanya's like the coolest dude. Dude, that guy's cool. Hey, I've met Adesanya. Like me and him chopped it up about anime and all this other stuff. Like that is a cool cat, man. If he sees this, what's up? What's up? BMO saying what's up all the way from the US to New Zealand.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. Is there anything that you would like to say before we conclude?
Shout out to Unaffiliated Fight Club. What's up, Jessica? Our girl Katie Stripe has got a fight coming up again on Peak
on Friday.
This Friday. Shout out to you. You know what I'm saying? You're you know what I'm saying? You're peanut sauce. Everybody loves peanut sauce. You know what I'm saying? Do your thing.
Yeah. We have some people fighting this weekend, so we're excited about that.
Yeah.
He's better at this than I am.
Oh yeah.
I'm not gonna win this personality contest, I promise.
Beat him up. Get a step aside, please.
It's actually really good because everyone's so busy distracted with Brant that I get to just fly under the radar, which is exactly what I prefer. Definitely.
Once you watch Killer Bee and Naruto, you'll definitely get why Brant, you got that.
I'll be doing that later.
Yeah. He's a character right there. He's a ninja that can fight, and that's the
and rap. And so you're missing that.
No, he can't rap. He can't rap. That's the thing. He tries. He can't. He tries, but he can't. He just rhymes. But yeah. So shout out to her. And shout out to my wife Annette. For being her. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to her. Shout out to Xbox for sponsoring our. Yeah, shout out to that. You know what I'm saying? If there's a liver enzyme company that wants to sponsor me for getting my shit kicked in, I'd love to like try your products and whatever else. You know what I'm saying? If you want, I'm a cool guy. I'm also good looking. So
we'll definitely get your information out there.
And the brand loves camera.
If you met me in my day-to-day life, I'm a joker.
Exactly like
I'm not like exactly like this. I'm a joker for the most part, kind of, but I'm more quiet, Do
you guys want to give out your social media handles so people can follow you and
That's your thing, Brant.
underscore Brant Jr. Underscore BrantJunior. Some shit like that. AM Nichols 3, right? That's your yeah. That's AM Nichols 3 at AM Nichols 3. I forgot what my Twitter was. It was like at KG.
We're not very organized in this aspect, as you can tell.
I just started a Twitter.
Can you just Google us?
I literally just started a Twitter.
We're not very good at that part.
Yeah, and it was like
I have not started a Twitter.
Okay, at Killer BMO, at Killer, Killer B, and then the capital MO,
Thank you so much, guys.